Hey moms, it's Laura Ollinger. Welcome to the Positively Healthy Mom podcast. Because there's no manual for the hardest job in the world.
Hello, and welcome to the Positively Healthy Mom podcast. I'm Laura Ollinger, your host, and today is my very first solo episode. I decided to just do my own thing today, and I'm going to have a conversation with you all. So very unscripted, bear with me. Hope I don't ramble too much. And so today's topic that I wanted to talk about is, do you know your child's heart? And what I mean by that is, do you know what their hopes and dreams are? Do you know what their fears are? Do you know how they feel about themselves? Do you know if they're having any pain or any stress, or what is causing them any harm? So a lot of times we as moms or parents go through our lives and we're so focused on the logistics. I know I am. It's all about what are we having for dinner and what time are we leaving and what equipment is needed, what has to be done. And so often we kind of forget to go deeper. And in order to do that, a lot of times what needs to happen is we kind of first need to connect with ourselves. So when I teach my Cracking the Parent Code course, the first step is being aware of yourself and having that awareness about kind of who you are, how you're showing up. That level of self-awareness is so important. But then the next step is emotional regulation and getting yourself regulated so that you can tune into your kids. So if we really want to know what's in our kids' hearts, we really have to slow down. And so in order to learn about what is in our kids' hearts, they need to feel comfortable talking to us. And what I found is there's about 6 major reasons why our kids won't open up to us, especially teenagers who are kind of getting out on their own, wanting to have their own identity away from their parents. And a lot of times that means they're spending more time in their rooms, or they're spending more time with their friends. And we don't always know about what is really going on in their hearts. So let's talk about those things. The first thing, that reason why parents don't always know what's going on in their kids' hearts, is because parents' reactions to things, whether they're responding or reacting, the way to know the difference between those two is to know, are you feeling activated? Are you feeling emotionally activated? And if you are, then most likely you are reacting to something. It's probably some trigger from your past, and so you're reacting to this present moment with a big emotional charge. A response is more regulated. So that is more coming to a place, and it doesn't mean you can't have feelings about things, but it's coming to a place with kind of more intentional response to things. So if you are dismissive to your child's feelings or invalidating to them, that's something to look at to see if you are reacting versus responding. And so you may not really know. Unless your teenager tells you that directly, you may not really know, but that's something to kind of ask yourself and build that self-awareness. If your child comes to you and they say, hey, I have this problem, and you say something like, no, it'll be fine, or don't worry about it, or it'll work itself out, or you're overreacting, that's, likely being taken as a dismissive response. And so therefore, they're not going to open up to you again in the future when they do have some hope or dream that they want to share with you, or a pain or a fear, or some type of self-doubt that's creeping into their lives. The next thing is that they feel like you might not understand. So maybe they really do want to talk to you about something, but for whatever reason, they feel like you will not understand where they're coming from, why they want something, why they did what they did. And so, that's something to look at too. What is it that you are doing that's making potentially your child feel like you don't understand? The third thing is fear of being judged. So I know I can relate to that as a teenager, thinking back to my days, that I was worried sometimes that my parents were going to judge me for a way I did a certain thing. I know my style of doing things is very different than how my dad did things. And I was always worried maybe he would judge me for how I was doing things. And the next thing is fear of consequences. So this is like the most common one that a lot of times kids don't want to deal with the consequences, which is, some type of discipline or punishment or timeout or getting their phone taken away. So they may not always be open and honest with you about what they are doing and what they're thinking and feeling because they don't want to deal with the consequences. The next thing is they do have an image to uphold. So similar to that feeling of being judged, maybe your child is the golden child and they're always been the responsible one and they're the oldest and so they're the most mature, and maybe they do something, just stupid like everybody does, and they don't want to disappoint you and they have this image to uphold, and so they don't want to lose that label as the responsible child. The next one is just everybody's trying to find their own identity, who they are in this world, how they're showing up. And a lot of times when teenagers are, creating their own identity, they know that it may not mold with the family's values. And so there's a good chance they may not open up to you about that if they feel like maybe there's going to be some conflict or there's going to be judgment or there's going to be a consequence, or if your response is going to be dismissive or invalidating. When they're trying to figure out who they are, they really just need some space. And if you can't give that, safe space for them, they're not going to open up to you. So the reason why I share all this today is because I want to talk about the fact that, what I realize is that every child at some point has some type of pain that has been inflicted by a peer. So you probably, recognize this in your own child where some kid said something mean to them. And it could have been when they were 3 years old. I know one of my kids had something, that really hurt them, said to them at preschool when they were 3 years old. It could be in middle school. I know a boy said something to me that was really hurtful when I was in, I can't remember if it was 7th or 8th grade, but I remember the boy's name and I remember what he said, and it really stuck with me for a long time. These things continue even into high school, where I know recently someone said something mean to one of my kids, and it kind of hurt their feelings and it affected them. And so the more I kind of share this with people and talk to people about this, everyone kind of has their story. They remember when someone said that thing to them, or in the current stage of their life when someone said something mean to their kid. And so when we have that pain, we want to, because it happens to all of us, we want to be able to have some resilience around that. We want to recover. We want to realize it hurt. That hurt, that made me feel bad. But we don't want it to define us. We don't want it to stick with us for the rest of our lives, because that's not helping anyone, right? And so the more we can understand what is going on in our kids' hearts, the more we are better able to know who they are and that they will come to us. So when something hurts. So here's the thing. That kid that said that mean thing to me in 7th grade or 8th grade, I now realize as a wise old adult, that he was really the one that was struggling. He was really the one not feeling good. And he had to find something to do with his discomfort. And so he put that onto me. Same with, like I said, something just happened to one of my kids recently. And I said to my kid, you know what? That is not a you thing. That's a him thing. That person that said that to you, that is his own insecurity. So all this to say is, as adults, we really want to be the solid foundation for our kids who can help them feel through their pain, feel through their sadness, feel through their disappointment. And on the counter side, this isn't always sad stuff. This isn't always depressing. We want to feel through their hopes and their dreams and their excitement and their good news. But the key is to be available, to be present, to know their hearts, to understand what they're feeling. And the only way we're going to really get in there and know their hearts is if we're having self-awareness and emotional regulation, so that we can put ourselves in a place of being really good listeners and not coming in to fix the situation, not coming in to say, hey, I'm going to go, find that kid who said that to you. I'm going to call his parents, or I'm going to call the school, and there are times when that is totally justified in a case that's bullying or cyberbullying. We do need to escalate those things. But I'm just talking about run-of-the-mill, everyday, kind of like mean comments We want our kids to have resilience, and we want them to open up to us, and we want to walk them through that pain so that they're not going on and passing that down. Because that's what I found, is that pain is always getting passed. It's getting passed generationally. It's getting passed from peer to peer. And so the more we can heal, ourselves, our own past pain, the more we're available to help our children process their pain, be there for them, and help them be resilient, learn how to bounce back, and learn how to not let these things define us. So that is it for today. This is short and sweet. Thank you for listening, and I hope to see you next week. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Positively Healthy Mom podcast, because there's no manual for the hardest job in the world. Don't forget to subscribe and share with your friends.